that not by disrespecting how sort of people who are not academics, right, view critique, academically framed critique. I would kind of not want to diminish those concerns that this is an elite kind of theorization, right? Very armchair, very elite, and very champagne swirling, and so on. Um, but I would also want to say, I would also want to have something to say about how that view has come about in Singapore, and not just Singapore. I think we see it very in a very pronounced way in the US today, right? A kind of anti-intellectualism that's almost been cultivated as part of a as part of a and this is the other side of neoliberal globalization, which is a kind of authoritarian populism. The work that I do actually juxtaposes these two things, and the work that I do tries to understand neo-authoritarianism in terms of the extreme reactions against extreme neoliberal globalization, which tends to be various forms of populism, not least of which is kind of right-wing populism, right? That's very averse to political correctness, for instance, very averse to kind of science, averse to elitism, kind of elite expressions, right, which are used to describe what goes on in places like academia. So there's a kind of a natural aversion to the language of academics, even artists, who, if you allowed them, could serve as the kind of mirrors that allow society to see those blind spots. But I guess from ordinary people's point of view, the mirrors might be there, but the way in which the images are expressed can be challenging, right? Artists use all kinds of artistic devices to challenge, to provoke, to incite, to use counter factuals, and so on and so forth. And so it's not a literal expression. And academics, even if they attempt to be literal, tend to be caught up very often in jargon and kind of frameworks that have become second nature to us, but then we don't have the sensitivity enough very often to understand that when you're speaking to the public, we need to, kind of break through these shorthands and so on and so forth. So I would forgive the artists because that's what they do. But I think for academics, we need to be bilingual, right? We need to speak to our own communities of scholars for whom this language is actually very recognizable and helps us to go deeper. But when we speak that second language to the public, which we must do, because many of us are publicly funded, right? And even if we're not, it is a kind of responsibility of academics to contribute outside of the very limited prestigious circles of journals, right?
Yeah.
To kind of help bring, if nothing else, clarity. And you can't bring clarity through jargon. So I think it is a weakness, but at the same time, I must say that the culture of pragmatism has often dismissed the work of academics and dismissed the work of artists as fantasy, right? As a kind of closed off ivory tower. So I think it's both parties that are kind of at fault. And of course, when this happens, when you have a kind of populist rejection of intellectuals, then intellectuals also, they kind of counter that by saying, okay, then I don't bother, right? I just spend all my time publishing in the top journals and advancing my career that way. So I mean, that's that's the unfortunate thing that
It is,
happens.
yeah.